My name is Amara, and until that night, I thought I understood what trust looked like. It was one of those thick summer nights where the air wraps around your skin like a wet sheet, heavy and suffocating. I'd left the window cracked, the ceiling fan humming its slow rhythm above me, trying to coax the heat out of the room. I remember how still the house felt, how soft everything had gone. It was the kind of silence that made you feel like the world had stopped spinning for a moment. Sleep had come slowly. I'd been restless all week, and that night was no different. I kept tossing, the sheets twisted at my feet, my thoughts scattered across 1,000 worries. But eventually, my body surrendered. My eyes fluttered shut, and I drifted into that fragile place between dreaming and awareness. Then, something shifted. It wasn't loud, just a faint click, so quiet it could have been the house settling or the wind catching the screen door downstairs. But my body heard it before my mind did. Some ancient alert system buried deep inside me snapped awake. I froze. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I kept my eyes closed, pretending to still be asleep, but every nerve in me strained toward the sound. I heard the creak of the floorboard of the third one, just outside my room. I knew that sound. I knew exactly who always stepped on it when they passed by. But this wasn't someone passing by. This was someone entering. He didn't say anything. He just stood there. I could feel the weight of him in the room, like the air had shifted to make space for him. I kept my breath even, praying he wouldn't see my eyelids twitch. My heart thudded against the mattress like it wanted to scream. I wanted to believe it was an accident, that maybe he'd heard something, come to check, but his steps were too slow, too deliberate. I heard him move toward the window, pause, and then just stand there again. I cracked one eye open, the tiniest sliver. What I saw, a broken bar. I still can't explain it without my stomach turning. He wasn't looking at me, not directly, but he wasn't looking away either. His face was unreadably blank in that way that hides everything, like he was deep in a thought that had nothing to do with being in someone else's bedroom at 3 a.m. I wanted to scream, to sit up and demand an answer, but I couldn't move. Something about that moment pinned me there, like my body understood before I did that something fundamental had just broken. The kind of break that doesn't make a sound but echoes forever. He stood there for a few more seconds, then turned and walked out without a word. That door clicked shut so softly, I almost thought I'd dreamed it all. Almost. I didn't sleep after that. I lay there for hours, staring at the ceiling fan slicing shadows across the room. Every few minutes, I'd glance at the door, half expecting it to open again, but it didn't. The silence pressed harder with every second. It wasn't peaceful, it was loud, brittle, the kind that makes you feel like if you move too suddenly, the whole house might shatter. I didn't get up right away. I couldn't. My legs felt like they didn't belong to me. My throat was tight, dry, like I'd swallowed glass. I just kept replaying the moment of those seconds when he stood there. How still he was. How unnatural it felt. Like I wasn't a person in that bed, just something else. Something he had the right to stand over. Around 5 a.m. the first light started to bleed into the sky, that sickly blue haze that makes everything look washed out, like the world hasn't quite decided to wake up. I finally swung my legs over the edge of the bed and sat there, listening. The house was still too quiet. I walked down the hall barefoot. The floorboards didn't creak under me. I knew how to step around them. I don't even remember making the decision. I just moved, like I needed proof that everything was still where I left it, that he was where he was supposed to be. I stood outside his door. My hand hovered over the knob, but I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I could hear it. His laugh, low and casual, a second voice, soft, feminine, familiar. He was already awake, already talking, as if nothing had happened, as if that walk into my room hours earlier had been a glitch. A misplaced moment. It made my stomach twist. I didn't go in. I didn't say a word. I just turned around, walked back to my room, and shut the door. That click of the latch sounded like thunder in my ears. It was the loudest thing I'd heard all morning. The silence that followed wasn't empty anymore. It was hiding things. It had shape, edges. There was a whole conversation playing out behind walls I suddenly didn't trust. Every murmur, every soft laugh from the other side of the house carried weight now. Everything ordinary felt strange. The whole space I lived in had shifted overnight. I sat by the window and watched the sun climb over the neighbor's roof. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. There was just this thick, unmoving feeling in my chest, like grief before it knows what it's grieving. I didn't speak to him that day, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know which version of him I'd be talking to, the one who stood at my door without knocking, or the one laughing like nothing happened. And I wasn't sure which one scared me more. By the next morning, something in the house had changed, but no one said anything. That was the strange part of how normal everything tried to be. Coffee brewed at the usual time, dishes clinked softly in the sink. He even asked if I'd slept okay, like the night hadn't happened at all. His voice had that lightness in it, the kind people use when they want to keep things smooth, unbothered. I nodded and smiled without letting it touch my eyes. I think he noticed. I think he always notices, but chooses not to. We didn't speak about it, not that morning, or the one after. Days passed like that. It became this silent contract. We both knew something had happened, but neither of us wanted to drag it into the light. I didn't ask why he was in my room. I didn't ask what he was looking for, or if he was even aware of what he'd done, and he didn't offer. Instead, I watched. I paid attention to the small things, the subtle betrayals, the way he lingered in doorways, how he changed his tone when she was around, softer, more performative. The shift in energy when he thought no one was looking. I became hyper-aware of the spaces between words, the way his eyes moved, how he sometimes didn't meet mine at all anymore. We ate dinner together like strangers pretending to play family. Our conversations were patched together with surface-level facts of how work was going, who called, what the weather might do next week. But underneath all that, something throbbed quietly. I could feel it even in my fingertips when I held my fork. That unspoken question, looping through my head again and again. What did he see when he looked at me in that bed? What was he thinking? Sometimes, when the house was quiet and I passed him in the hallway, I could feel it again, that same invisible pressure from the night he entered. Like the walls remembered, like the air itself had kept the memory. One afternoon, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I was brushing my hair and stopped halfway through, staring. My face looked the same, but something behind my eyes didn't. It was like a part of me had pulled back, tucked itself somewhere safer, watching from a distance. I hadn't realized how far away I'd drifted until I saw it there in my own eyes. That scared me more than anything else. Not what happened, not even what he might have intended, but how easily I was learning to live with it, without asking for clarity, without reaching for truth. I wasn't angry, not yet, just hollow, like a room where someone had taken all the furniture out without making a sound. I kept waiting for someone to say something, to notice, to break the silence, but no one ever does.